Yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself and about your company. What's your company about? Uh, and what are your goals with the company?
Okay. So my company, my background is I was a corporate investment banker.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in 4 countries: Dubai, London, Singapore, and my last posting was in Australia.
Yeah.
I was a vice president and head for Australia and for New Zealand for
Wow.
offshore investments. So my background is more in money market investments and treasury type products.
Yeah.
I've been running my business when I sort of finished off in banking around 2000. I wanted to just do something on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm doing now is I run a consulting business. So that is into venture capital, cross border financing, offshore financing, the normal stuff. And I provide a lot of investment advice
Yeah.
to buyers and people who want to invest in property or farms or whatever it is.
Cool.
And then I arrange the finance as well. So I do it's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
And now my interest now is moving into more complicated type transactions. So that's basically what it is. I work for myself. I don't have any obligations or what you call. I have my own license, so I
Mm-hmm.
can operate by myself.
Ah,
Yeah.
right. Is that the main reason that you switched from being a vice president of the bank to having
I
something for
just
yourself?
Yeah, I just wanted to do something different
Mm-hmm.
because in being a vice president, you travel a lot. You spend hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to do something for myself and
Yeah.
do something differently instead of being in an office. I like to go out and meet people, and
Yeah, of course.
I advise businesses as well for them how to improve their businesses with cash flow and budgeting and
Yeah.
capital management and all that stuff. So that's what I did. That's what I do now. So there is a slight slant in what I was doing in the bank to what I'm doing now, but then it's also helping me to dissect into other areas because my background is in economics.
Yeah.
So I can pick up things pretty fast and do
Yeah.
things pretty fast.
And this what you're doing right now, is it really a passion?
Sorry?
Is it really a passion for
Oh
you?
yeah, I love what I do now, and now I get the opportunity of helping people to grow.
Yeah.
So whether it be a young person like you or whether it be an older person, if they made a lot of bad choices, and it's
Yeah.
like taking corrective action to make them successful in whatever time they have.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And was it a big step to quit your job and start something for yourself?
It all depends how you look at it. I believe in myself, and I'm I'm very optimistic about everything. So I had no fear because I had a lot of knowledge behind me,
Mm.
and I knew that I could fit in anywhere quite easily
Yeah.
in the banking and investments in that whole sphere. I understand international banking and trade banking and all this stuff. So I was never afraid. If worst came to the worst, I could have gone back to a bank, but that was not what I wanted.
Nah, I understand.
Yeah.
Is this also international?
Yes, I deal with international customers, and I do a lot of work with like when I do the venture capital and when I do cross border financing, you have to go to another foreign country and then you got to set it up,
Mm.
the unit and then the consortium or whatever you want to call it, and then bring the money to Australia. So it's a fair bit of work involved, but then you get paid for what you do because not everybody has those skills.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. And did you say that your experience with the bank really helped you starting up your own?
Oh, definitely that alone, but also you also have to have a personality where you can talk to people and they can understand you and you can relate to people. Communication is a very big part of what I do,
Yeah.
and you got to talk at their level. So I deal with people of different intellectual levels.
Yeah.
So you got to understand at what level you speak to them, because if you speak to them and if they don't understand you, then you're wasting your time
Yeah, of course.
and you're wasting their time too. So you got to make sure you make the right balance, and if you make the right balance, your success rate is very high.
Okay. So I'm following an entrepreneurship program right now at QT, where they basically learn us all about building your own startup, but it's very general as well.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to see like what's the most important lesson you've learned from having your own company.
Okay, so just to give you an idea, is for me, I was always running a business, so I knew I was running a big business for the bank with a turnover of with a net profit of before tax about $15 million. So I knew how to run a business. So what I advise young people now is the first is to understand the model you're going to put in. You have to have a good business plan and a business model. You got to have a very strong SWOT analysis. You understand once you get those in place, then you got to have underneath that, you got to have a good cash flow proposition that is real, because you can put numbers and make it look great, but it's not. So the biggest issue with a lot of people startup businesses today that I'm seeing is that they do not have those fundamentals in place. They get into business and then 12 months down the track they're gone. So you got to have capital reserves. You got to have everything where you'll be able to run your business for 12 months without an income, for example. So you look at the worst case scenario or the lowest common denominator, and if you build your business around that, it's pretty basic. Then the chances of you going belly up is very less. It's very limited of how you can go wrong. But of course, then you got to have the skills. You got to have the right people. And it's not easy. The first 12 to first 24 months, I found it myself. I did everything by myself, but I wanted to do it by myself because then I didn't have to rely on someone to do things that I'll have to come and do it again. So by doing it that way, I was able to get off the ground a lot quicker.
And do you say that you need a lot of money starting your own business?
See, with the way I started my business, I didn't need a lot of capital. Because basically at the time I thought I'll start at a particular this thing, but then my intention was to build it into a stage. Once I got my name out there in the market, because I came from a background that not many in my industry. So when people started talking, business, fortunately for me, came to me because people wanted a different level of expertise, which I was able to provide. So now what I do is my business model is a model that not many can emulate. They can't copy me because I'm able to be the real true one-stop shop. I can answer everything, whether it be accounting, whether it be marketing, whether it be whatever. I can give them all the tools to do what they want, and I have designed my own tools that I give my clients for them to design, for them to use that as a step-by-step proposition. So if you come to me, for example, if somebody comes to me for advice, then I'll have a service agreement signed with them, and then I'll give them all the templates, so they don't have to go and listen. And all the templates will tell them how to do it. So by doing it that way, they learn what they're doing. At the same time, they can be more realistic, because you can have a good business idea, but the timing of the business may be right, it may not be right. And then if you choose to go it in an environment where the business atmosphere is not right for that particular business, you can still fail, however so good you may be. But if you have a big capital reserve behind it, then you can weather the storm.
Of course. And are you still very much working on yourself right now, or do you have a big team?
No, I don't do this because in Australia it's a very regulated market. And I have my own license, and I treat it like gold. I can't afford to have someone who do something wrong, which means my liability goes up the roof, and I can't afford that. And my knowledge to find someone to be compatible with me is extremely hard. I tried it, and it was.
I can imagine that you have to deal with a lot of people when you have your own company, of course, and if you have a big team underneath, well, that's a whole other thing, of course.
See, at the end, also it's depending on what type of business you're in. Now, what I do for another business, it won't work because you'll have to have different people doing different types of job. But with I do, it's more intellectual, and it's how you present it and how you. It's an industry that you can work for yourself and still do it. It's like working same thing in the bank. What was I doing? I was just passing directions to all my direct reports and telling them do this, do that, and then I get a report and I see it. So it's the same thing. But now what I do is I do it myself and get other people to do the admin and that type of stuff.
And what about time? Because they always tell me that
the wonderful thing is that I choose to work the way I want to work. So nobody can tell me when I can work and when I can't work. I mean, I should work and I mean, I shouldn't work. So I work the way I want to work, but I still set the same standards and the same client experience with which is that doesn't change.
Yeah.
So it'll be the same level, but then I can, if I had to do something in the morning, and if I say no, I don't want to do it in the morning, I want to do it in the evening, I have the liberty of doing that.
That's great.
The downside in running your own business is means you got to be around. So when holidays become a problem.
Yeah.
So when you go away, then you have to always. I could never go on a holiday. I got to take my laptop and I had to be on call because people want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to anybody else.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. That's the only downside. But now I've sort of reduced it to the point where things can still get done without them having to talk to me. But now you have email, you have this, you have that, you have everything. You can still communicate.
You have to be online 24.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and is it hard for you to adapt?
I am one with the attitude that I don't say no to anything. If you tell me something cannot be done, I'll find a way to make it happen. That has always been my attitude. I was a very ambitious guy when I left home. I left home when I was 18 and I went overseas, and so I'll find ways to say yes rather than looking for the easy option to say no. If it's too hard, I'll still find a way.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't my attitude is I don't give in to any negative any negative feedback easily.
Yeah.
I'll see why it is and I'll try to analyze it myself.
Cool.